Good evening, all. Welcome to my channel. I can see we have a lot of people watching, so thank you for joining us, Aiden, Turtleboy, whatever we are supposed to call you.
Turtleboy
But
works. It works.
yeah,
Like that,
and
yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today. We have Valhalla. He's dual streaming this as well on his channel, and
What's up,
Jamie's just
everybody?
here to make everyone look pretty.
She does so good at it.
Yeah.
And I asked John to talk about the Karen Reed case. I know you have your own case. You've been in court today. A lot of people is probably interested in how that went, but we talked about it, and I really like to focus on the Karen Reed case because it's kind of been overshadowed by your case, and that's a bad case as well. It's another way to get a gag order on you without getting a gag order. But I really want to dig deep into this Karen Reed case because there's so much I'm wondering about, and I know you are the expert on this case, if we can say that.
One of many. I feel like at this point, I feel like Turtle Riders, like people know this case inside and out that follow this, and I think that's kind of an expectation that a lot of people, people that watch my proceedings today with my attorney, I think a lot of them were frustrated that he doesn't know it as well as us. But like, it takes time. Like this is hours and hours and hours of time that we've all invested into this. So if you just learned about it a couple weeks ago or whatever, like it takes a while to get caught up to every detail.
And there's a lot. This case is so wild.
There are a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm talking on my show, hundreds of hours of streaming that I've done, to remember, if you're not a regular watcher of my show, and a commentary and you're really into it, then it's really easy not to know what, like the judge brought up a quote today that I said on a stream in July. And, my lawyer had never heard that before. He had never heard it. So he didn't even know how to respond to it. That's not his fault. That's just like, it takes time to get caught up to speed.
Oh, the discovery, and that's got to be absolutely insane.
We haven't gotten to that yet. It's like we're going to file motions to dismiss before that, and we'll see what happens. And honestly, if the motion to dismiss fails, we're contemplating just doing you have a right to a speedy trial, and I just like let's go. Let's get in a room and let's go. Let's get all these people on the stand because they're all going to have to testify against you, and they're going to have to explain. And I have a lot of questions for them. I'm ready to go tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they don't want a speedy trial. They want to keep you out of it until the Karen Reed case is gone, and then they we forgot.
We'll just dismiss those charges.
Exactly.
We don't need to pursue that anymore.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
But I'll just say thank you, Audra, for becoming a member, and thank you, MLS. MLS, from your stream with him a couple of weeks ago. Make sure you mention MLS at least 4 times, so MLS will be looking into your case later this week. The case law behind it, MLS is a good guy. That's 4 times. Thank you so much for the super chat.
I had a great time going on his stream. It was very informative.
We did have a good stream over there.
Yeah.
I do need to acknowledge the fact that Audra's membership was mine, and that is my first member ever on the YouTubes.
Well, congratulations. Well, still, thank you for becoming a member.
Thank you, Audra. Appreciate it.
And for the people who normally watch my channel, I can see we bounced up to like 300 people already. So we might not pull up as many chats as we normally do, but we will still try to do it. I have put a delay on the chat today, and I put it for only subscribers, not members, whatever it is. You don't have to pay to talk, but because let's be fair, some people are not the biggest fans of you. And
yeah, they were already on here before I even jumped on. I saw.
Yeah, and they were nice enough to write in Swedish for me, even though I'm Danish. So I have a weird accent.
I think that's racist. I think it's like all you people look alike. You're all the same. I think that's what they're saying.
All white people look alike.
All you Northern European people, you're all the same.
Yeah, well, we kind of are because we've been fighting for 2,000 years and inbreeding. So it's kind of like the Appalachians. Just with a few less fingers and toes.
I'm not from here originally, sir.
No, but the cousin wedding thing kind of drew you.
No,
Well, Helen, let's be nice. We have guests.
my bad.
But, I made some slides because if anyone is new, probably most of the people here already know this case. But this is what it's about. Karen Reed, who's accused of manslaughter, leaving the scene of a motor vehicle collision causing death, and motor vehicle homicide. She dated Officer John O'Keefe. She's been out partying with him, dropped him off at a fellow officer's home, and found the body the next day in the snow. That's the helicopter view of the case. As far as I've been watching the two hearings in the trial and read some of the charges against her, and that's the gist of it. And then the state claims that they have been out drinking. She drives them to the home of Brian Albert. We'll probably talk a bit about him. Doing a three-point turn, which they later changed. She hits O'Keefe with the back of the car. She leaves the scene around 4:30. She tries to contact O'Keefe, and then gets in contact with Kerry Roberts and Jennifer McCabe, who helps her search for O'Keefe, finds the body outside the Alberts' home in the snow, and calls 911 at around 6 a.m. That's kind of what I think the state has claimed in this case is the facts. And the evidence, they had a strained relationship. O'Keefe's niece and nephew said O'Keefe wanted to take a break. No one saw him enter the residence. The tail light is broken on the back of the car with human hair in it. And she had reportedly said something like, I hit him. Could I have hit him? That's kind of what when I watch what the state says, is kind of what they say. And then the defense says, well, she saw him at the side entrance of the Alberts residence. The injuries just doesn't add up to the claims of a bump in the head with a tail light. The iPhone data, you probably want to talk about that as well.
Of course.
The tail light was either broken before the accident or as she leaves before searching. There's this video of her bumping into his car on the way over there. And of course, the famous Google searches of hypothermia, which is something about daylight savings time, old catches. There was a very good explanation. And then there's all the stuff I really like you to talk about, because this is what makes me go, The connections between the Alberts and the investigators and the judge. The injuries described as going 10 rounds with Tyson and blunt force scratches. I never heard about that before. The missing dog, the remodeling of the home, the broken tail light, the force needed to break a tail light. The other car, Ryan Nagel, he arrived at the scene, saw her in the car, allegedly before she backed into the guy without ever seeing him, even though she had the lights on. He had the lights on. The evidence that never gets tested because either the defense didn't sign a petition or they just didn't have time to do it in the lab, because it's just a murder case. Who has time to do investigation in a murder case? Of course,
you're missing a big one from that list too, you know.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay. They got more. There it is. I see it now. Okay, we're good.
The time of the car being towed, the snowplow driver, which you tracked down, the three-point turn that turned into a 62 feet, 24 miles per hour reverse in snow. The daylight savings time about the searches, I didn't really understand. And Jennifer McCabe, who didn't saw anything, even though she says, yeah, I don't know this lady. She seems shifty.
Daylight savings it has to do with the fake, like what time the car was towed from Karen Reed's parents' house. In basically, it gave Proctor enough time to plant taillight, and they made up a daylight savings lie to explain it. We can get into that if you want.
Yeah, but all of this is just my 12,000 feet view, so you can jump in on anything you want to talk about. And then they had the human hair expert who didn't do her exam that well, and etc. Yeah, and okay. I just chose this picture with the blunt force trauma because I find
blunt force trauma.
That's interesting.
Oh
blunt
my
force
God.
trauma.
That looks like you got eaten by a lion. Like blunt force trauma.
There's no way that's not a dog bite, right?
There's scratches. Not, I mean, the bites are going to be sharp little holes. Those are scratches. Like those are clear scratches because they're parallel for one thing, like claws are, and because they actually because blunt force trauma. Like if there was an abrasion, do we what an abrasion looks like? Your kid falls off their bike and they scrape their knee. That's an abrasion. Like entire parts of skin peel off. This is just specific little sharp little lines. Like obviously that came from an animal. Duh. I mean, you have to be. Like the people that believe that Karen Reed actually did this they don't actually believe it. Like they know they're lying to themselves and they're just trolls. Like we're just being trolled by the government here at this point, I feel like, because there's no way any rational person actually believes Karen Reed did this. No way. And the ways that these people have to bend over backwards to try to find a way to make this work, and it still doesn't work. Like explaining your drawing that you showed me. Can you show the drawing of?
Oh yeah. Let me just do the housekeeping. Yeah, but to me this looks like a dog where he tries to yank his arm back and it has his paws and his arm in its mouth.
Right.
But all the housekeeping. Appalachians are the best people. Yeah, that's why Valhalla moved down there.
I do like the people here. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, the expert gave you a super chat. And Iris, thank you so much for the 10 Broken Bacon memberships. And you got a new member, Debbie W.
Welcome to Goat Herder, Debbie W. Welcome.
Yeah. But I have this weird idea because I cover cases. Cases can be quite boring because there's a lot of downtime when lawyers talk and they have to move stuff around. And I was listening to the first Karen Reed hearing, and I just couldn't make it make sense when I heard how his head injury on the back of his head coincided with him being hit on the head by a car. So I made this drawing.
Turtle Riders get the joke here. This made me laugh. So there's a guy out there named Kevin. He runs a channel called Yellow Cottage Tales, and he did this like Sim City recreation of what he believes happened, and it was a little video. And I'm not even shitting you. It is exactly like this. It is I laughed when you showed me this. I'm like, did Kevin send this to you? And we all laughed at Kevin, and Kevin's a kind of a running joke around here. But the sad part is, like, at least Kevin did something. At least he made something up. The government to this day still does not have any sort of explanation for how A caused B. They have these things and they're like, well, blunt force trauma and got hit by a car. It's like, okay, well, can you recreate that for me and show me exactly how this happened? And of course they can't, because no matter what you do, it's going to make you look ridiculous. No matter what story they tell, it contradicts something else they told. For instance, the 3-point turn thing, right? So this contradicts a number of things. They've been saying the 3-point turn thing since the beginning. Matt McCabe is on record, I believe, in a February interview with Trooper Proctor, in which he said that he saw V-shaped tire marks in the snow, right? So now what? Are we just going to forget that he said that? Are we just going to forget that? Like that? So the new theory contradicts now what Matt McCabe said. And also now they're saying that because the 3-point turn didn't happen, because she pulled up 62 feet in front of the neighbor's house and John just stood there like an idiot waiting to get run over. And then she somehow made it to 24 miles an hour in the snow in just 62 feet, which is impossible. I've tried it. Ryan Nagel was there the entire time. So why didn't Ryan Nagel see it? And see, every time they come up with the story, it's contradicted by another story. It's too late for them. No matter what they put forward, it's going to be easily disprovable. And I think that's why they're not throwing theories out there, is because nothing would everything is contradicted by something else, and they can't afford to have a theory.
Well, there's something to that, I think, because we're seeing this more and more, especially on YouTube. People are putting out theories, prosecutions putting out theories, and YouTubers are just eating them alive, explaining every which way it couldn't happen that way.
You can learn so much more about this case on YouTube than you ever could watching the mainstream media news. Like, all they do is just regurgitate whatever the Commonwealth puts in their filings. And you can come on YouTube and you can watch a number of channels on here where people actually analyze this stuff and talk about it. It's much more informative than the actual, news.
Yeah, and that's why I got into all of this, because I started watching. I don't call this true crime, because we don't sit around and drink wine and guess what happens. We try to get into what evidence there is. Other channels just claim people are guilty and say because they're evil or whatever. But I like to cover the cases, see the hearings, and try to make my idea from the evidence. As all you turtle writers don't know me, I'm what's called a layman in Denmark. That's our jury system. So I'm pretty used to evaluate evidence, because I do a lot of cases in criminal court. And when you watch this case and you hear how the state, every time any question is asked, no, we never said that. No, we never did. No, we never. And you just misunderstand everything. And it's such a bad performance they have done in the two hearings. Especially, I don't know if he's the lead attorney on it or whatever. The guy who's always, well, if they just signed the papers, we had done it a long time ago and said, well, we signed the papers. Well, the lab is a little backed up. I can't remember his name, the DA, but
glasses and the spiky, like, no hair. He has,
I was him for Halloween. Adam Lally. We call him Lunchbox. Yeah.
You have a lunchbox?
We call him
Kraus.
Oh,
Kraus from Rittenhouse.
I found that out afterwards. And I went on
Lunchbox.
Rakita. He started calling him Lunchbox, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys use that already? God damn it!"
That's funny.
I didn't copy him. I swear to God. It was
Great.
Lunchbox Lally. That's what we call him. I don't know, because he looks like his mom packs his lunch for him. That's why we called him that. Because he's got. I mean, what kind of man his age wears hair gel like that cheap, LA Looks hair gel? Like,
This is
dude,
the 90s.
I know, bro. Come on, dude. Stop it. Not a good look.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny.
and thank you, Murph, for the gifted 10 membership. And you got a new member. Farrell became a member over at your side.
Thank you,
So
Farrell.
watch out. She's going to dox you. And Wicked
she
Psych,
terrorized me.
thank you for covering this, bigger Jamie Val. And thank you, Aiden, for coming on. Yeah, thank you so much. Because, again, going back to the persons involved in this, everyone is a cop except Karen.
Right.
More or less. And then, that's the nephew, which you clearly said bad things to, so he had to jump out of college or whatever he claimed.
He said he's sad. I made him sad.
Oh,
I didn't mean to make him sad. I mean, it's like, if he didn't murder someone, like I believe he was involved in the murder of John O'Keefe, but I understand his feelings also matter. So I didn't mean to hurt Colin Albert's feelings, but I just think he should go to jail for the rest of his life. I'm just saying, because I believe he's a bloodthirsty killer. Sorry, it's just my opinion. I mean, this is such a joke. It is such a joke that, like, I'm sitting in a trial right now, being charged with witness intimidation because I said negative things about this kid who clearly is a punk, who makes videos in which he threatens other people, says bang, bang, like Mr. Tough Guy. And now I am facing however many years in prison because Mr. Tough Guy got his feelings hurt by my YouTube show. In the United States of America, this is what our justice system is doing. How are we? And we think that we, as Americans, have the right to judge any other country on earth and how they handle their business. And this is what's happening in the United States of America. Please fix your own house before you go around telling others to do the same. Disgusting.
Yeah,
I'll agree with most of that anyway.
Yeah, from one who has been around telling other people how to do the American way, you must have a funny perspective of, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent in the U.S. with these cases. When you deep dive into them, it seems more and more like you just railroad people because you can. The DAs.
Well, that's the problem that we're seeing more, right? We're seeing the process isn't happening the way it was intended or it is supposed to, and I think that's what we're seeing here too. I think the process isn't happening the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
But Could you talk more about the Alberts and the connections? Because the lead investigator, who is clearly not a friend of them, only was he the best man at the cousin's wedding or whatever? But
Michael
he
Proctor?
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to know about the connection between him and the Alberts and the McCabe's?
Yes, please.
All right,
Because
so he is. So there is so Michael Proctor's sister Courtney graduated in 1998 from Canton High School with a lovely woman by the name of Jill Daniels, and so they are best friends. Those two. Jill Daniels is the sister of Julie Albert, and so over the years, a connection between the two families formed because of that, a decades-long connection. And Michael Proctor's own mother refers to the Alberts as a second family. He calls the Alberts like a second family. They constantly post pictures of Colin and his two brothers, but mostly Colin, on social media since he was a little child, saying, "We love you, Colin, so much." They clearly adore this kid very much. And Colin turned out to be a punk, like just an absolute spoiled brat, entitled, privileged punk who's gotten away with everything his entire life, and he thinks that there's no consequences for it. He's a punk. He fights kids. He's a Mr. Tough guy, etc. And so Michael Proctor became a state trooper along the line. He moved his way up to detective in Norfolk County. He still lives in Canton. So when John O'Keefe is found dead on the lawn of the house behind me on January 29th, 2022, the Canton police are initially on the case, but once he dies, it goes on to the state police and they take it over. And of all the detectives in Massachusetts, Michael Proctor's put on it. Michael Proctor fails to disclose that he is a close family friend of the Alberts and the McCabe's. So close that his own mother refers to the Alberts as a second family. So close that he was at his sister Courtney's wedding. Jill Daniels was the maid of honor. Colin Albert was the ring bearer, and Michael Proctor was one of the groomsmen. So that is how close these people are. Colin Albert was 7 years old when that happened. So they have known Colin Albert since he was a small child. They go way back. As for the McCabe's, we have a picture in 2017 that Courtney Proctor posted on Facebook showing Michael Proctor with two of the McCabe girls, the two youngest McCabe girls, in the background. Now, this is wild. So it's undeniably them. It's quite obviously them. You see a picture of two girls. They're like, yep, those are them. You can see them in pictures. Well, with the straight face in court, Adam Lally said, those are not the McCabe girls. Those are not. There's not. But they are. This is the definition of gaslighting. That's a word that's thrown around often these days. This is the definition of it. When it's quite clearly them, and then you just say it's not them, and then we're just supposed to believe you, but it's them. Like it's clearly them, and they're in towels. Are we to believe that these children, these feral, free-range children, are just roaming the town of Canton and jumping in the back, photo bombing pictures of state troopers? Come on. So now they're forcing us to prove that it is them. So I go on Jen McCabe's page. I got a picture of her daughter at her first communion, and I aligned it next to the picture. They're twins. It's like, it's clearly them. It's obviously them. And so I didn't want to post a picture of this kid, but they're forcing us to because they're lying. And it's relevant because this establishes a connection between the two, which is the basis of the entire conspiracy here, is that Michael Proctor knows these people. Now, in my case, Jennifer McCabe, one of the things I'm charged with is on September 25th, I was sent a picture of, and remember, they've said in court a million times, they don't know each other. Well, I got sent a picture on February 25th of what appears to be Jennifer McCabe's white Jeep parked outside of the Proctor household. They live a quarter mile away from each other. And I'm ready to write a story about this because that is a big development. For the first time, we can put the Proctors and a McCabe in the same house at the same time. That's a personal relationship. They're hanging out on their personal time together, being friends. It is inappropriate for a witness in a murder case to be, kind of hanging out with and becoming friends with the lead detective and his family. So just in order to make sure that this is in fact Jen's car, I see the license plate, and I said, does anybody want to verify this license plate for me? They can run it through the system. Any tow truck drivers, PIs, a lot of people I could pay $5 a month to get access to it if I want. But people often volunteer. And so I make a post and anyone want to verify this plate for me. 12 people do. One of them happens to be a dispatcher, so it's logged when she does. The police can figure that out. But she does confirm that it is indeed her car, Jennifer McCabe's car. So now I got a story. Now, this is big. In court a week prior to this, they said they don't know each other. Now I can prove that Jennifer McCabe is at their house because I've traced the license plate. But what I'm being charged with in regards to this is conspiracy to commit witness intimidation because I conspired to get this woman's plate and then I intimidated her. But where's the intimidation? You're not intimidated by this. You're exposed by this. What we did, this is, if anything, it's a conspiracy to report factual matters. Conspiracy to prove that the district attorney's office is lying. This isn't about Jennifer McCabe or the Proctors. This is about the district attorney's office, who said in open court that they do not know each other. That is a lie. That the defense is lying. That's not them in the picture. They've never met. So now
they actually said this, or they didn't disclose.
They actually said this in court. Adam Lally said the defense says that she and the whole courtroom laughed. There was an incident in September. Yeah, that was what got the whole. He's like, there's no personal relationship between the McCabes and the Proctors, and everybody burst out laughing. They're like, that was funny. And it was so absurd. It was funny. And then a week later, I got that picture, and so I reported. I didn't report that to intimidate anyone. I reported that because it's relevant. It proves that the state is lying. And as a journalist, that is a matter of public concern that the district attorney's office is lying in open court during a murder trial. And in order to silence me, because I am reporting these inconvenient truths, they charge me with witness intimidation to try to shut me up and prevent me from asking questions of 3 very shady people inside that house who are all lying about their relationship with one another. This is scary. I don't give a shit if you don't like me. I don't care if my personality offends you. You do not want to live in a country where the people who have all the guns are doing this to people and covering for murderers. Take me out of it. Look at the bigger picture here and open your eyes. But unfortunately, we live in much too partisan of a society where people are happy to cheer on their political enemies when they are, locked up and sent to prison simply because they get joy. Yeah, I don't like you, so I'm happy you're going to jail. I don't really care why you're going to jail. That doesn't bother me. I just don't like you, so I'm happy that you're rotting in prison. It's disgusting.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And the Plymouth Book, I'm Danish. I don't understand those letters. The people on the bottom is the lovely Valhalla awaits. He has a channel. We are dual streaming. I have Turtleboy linked in my chat, so normally I would have his linked. He's just getting into to streaming a little bit more. He's primarily been a goat farmer, and the other one is my lovely co-host Jamie. She doesn't have a channel. She's just here to make everyone look a little bit better by shining a little bit of that lovely face on us.
We love our Jamie.
Yeah, she is one of the bestest. And thank you, Chris Mullen, for becoming a member at Valhalla. And you talked about Mullen. this McCabe lady, the searches on the phone, the hypothermia searches.
How long to die in cold?
Yeah, how long to die in cold. Those to me were kind of the thing where, the bump on the head, which should be from an impact from a car. It didn't make sense. But those searches, it's how do they explain those searches?
They just say they didn't happen. They just gaslight you. Like, didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, but it clearly happened. No, she had another window open on her phone, and that's why. No,
it's like
searches don't magically happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they use a bunch of words and they try to make it sound like they're nerds, and they use like write ahead logs and all these words that you're not familiar with. And they're like, actually, this, and this. And they just keep talking. And eventually you're supposed to come to the conclusion that, like, well, I'm confused. I don't get it. And I don't know who's telling the truth. That is what their goal is to do with this nonsense. But the fact of the matter is, software was used to extract that, called Cellbrite. It is the industry standard in data extraction from cell phones, right?
You see that in every case.
Every case. And nothing is, and the prosecution is usually the one that's using Cellbrite, right? So now, but because the defense is using it this time, now it's just fake because they said so. And they claimed in open court that their expert did her own forensic analysis of it. And she said that the search did not happen at that time, except they didn't publish her report. When they finally published a report, they see that she actually did confirm it. She actually did confirm that it happened at 2:27. But she also said that it happened at 6:24, which the defense never contended. It did happen at 6:24. It happened at 2:27, and she realized what a horrible, dumb mistake she had just made. So she deletes it, and she's like, and she's thinking in her head, I got an idea. I'll just search the same exact thing later. And maybe that will make the other one disappear. And so, or maybe some dumb district attorney will make the argument that because I Googled it at 6:24, I also could not have Googled it at 2:27, which is exactly what ended up happening. So she, at 6:24, she has seen the body by then. So it would make sense a little bit to Google that at 6:24. And she does. And she claims that Karen is the one that told her to do it. Except there is dash cam footage that has not been released yet that I totally haven't seen. I haven't seen any of this footage. I don't know what you're talking about. Of the Canton police officers from 6:05 up to 6:30. And it would have caught Karen Reed telling her, Google this for me. Google it. It also would have caught Karen Reed saying, I hit him. Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Now, I don't know anything about any dash cam footage, but if I did, and if there was nothing on there like that, it would once again prove that the state and Jennifer McCabe are lying about the entire case, that they have nothing.
Yeah, and again,
I love this dude. You're so great. I love you.
He's having a good time.
I just love
but I don't know anything about it. So.
No, you're just what was it? A satirist? They called it a day in court.
I'm a journalist, because they always say, "Well, would a journalist hold a protest?" It's like, well, I'm a journalist, an activist, and a satirist. I write stories. I do a lot of research, right? I also like to become active, right? I take up causes and I believe in them. And I also like to crack jokes and stuff. And I like to be a humorist. So I do that on my show a lot. You can do different things. Like, I don't know if people know that you can do different things.
Yeah, I can follow a case and still do stupid drawings.
Yeah, you're an artist. You're an artist and a YouTuber. So there you go.
Yeah, and a baker. But And I really like this Cellbrite thing. It doesn't work when the defense uses it. It's the same with the magic movement data. That doesn't happen. No, he never walked up and down the stairs. It's just because iPhones do crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, here's I've watched on Court TV. They've brought in some experts. One guy said speed bumps. It could be caused by speed bumps, which is absurd. And other people have said hills. First of all, there's no hills around there. But even if there was, Apple would be the most useless, dysfunctional product ever if it mistook hills for stairs. It's freaking Apple. They're one of the wealthiest companies in the world. They create the most reliable products in the world. Their clock is run by an internal Cocoa clock, which measures every second from January 1st, 2001 to the present. So it's like 65 million something it's at right now. And it would be completely unreliable. Now, here's the ultimate question, right? She also has an iPhone and she was with him, right? So if he never went in the house, but his phone shows him ascending and descending stairs.
Hers should too.
But it doesn't, because that proves they were in different places because hers do not show any ascending and descending stairs. His do. I just did a story on this yesterday. There's a horrible story of a murder. A mother went crazy and killed her 3 kids in Massachusetts. And what was used against her by the Commonwealth? They said that her Apple Health data shows her ascending 3 flights of stairs after she did it.
I was going to say that if it's that far off, if the technology is that far off that it'll mistake speed bumps and flights of stairs and all this other nonsense,
it's useless.
There's a whole lot of trial information that we need to go back and look at again.
Right, I know. A lot of defense attorneys are like, wait a minute, that doesn't count.
Yeah,
shit. Gotta file an appeal. Nothing. I've never seen anything like this case. I had faith in the state prior to this. I'm like, I never really believed. I thought people were kooky, and I still think some of them are conspiracy theorists. But now it's just like maybe I judged them wrong because I really didn't think that a district attorney's office and so many state police would go along with this, and that the public would not be in widespread revolt because they have taught us trust institutions. People don't want to believe that they live in a world where this could happen, because if that happens, civilization itself crumbles if we don't trust our institutions. So you don't want disorder. You don't want revolution. That would be really bad. And that's really what's dangerous about what they're doing right now. If they believe that, the people in charge of us will do this to people, right? People will start to say, this is not a legitimate government. This is how revolutions have started throughout world history. So what the district attorney's office and the state police are doing is a million times worse than anything any Albert or McCabe did. They're just common murderers, dime a dozen. But what these people are doing is a million times more damaging, and their punishment should be even worse than whatever the killers actually did.
I 1000% agree with that. Baker and myself have both been in parts of the world where we've seen what that actually looks like. And nobody wants that here.
Nobody wants that. Yep.
We live in such a state of privilege because nobody that's grown up in the States, at least, has ever seen anything like that. Mm-hmm. And thank God for that, right? Thank whoever your God is. But that's something that is as close as I've ever seen in this country. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're getting worse and worse as time goes on. It's not.
You guys ever watch the show The Walking Dead? You guys ever watched that show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So in that show, right, if you haven't seen it, it's about the collapse of civilization and trying to rebuild it, right? Amongst zombies out there and shit. And there's this I think it's like season 6, the Negan people come along, right? And the Sanctuary, they called. And the Sanctuary has law, it has order to a degree, right? And it has whatever, but it comes as a cost. You have to overlook the murder. You have to overlook a lot of things. And I think with this case, it's kind of similar. It's like a lot of people are just looking at it. They're going about their day and they're like, okay, well, we have order here. It's not absolute chaos. Yes, Karen Reed is clearly being framed for murder that she didn't commit. And that's a horrible thing. And they killed John O'Keefe. But I'm willing to look past it because I like order and I don't like chaos. And ultimately, that is kind of what's happening here. And it's just, I like that show because it shows it's about human nature. It's about throughout history, people are willing to put aside a lot and ignore a lot as long as there is order.
People will give up almost anything for security.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I come from a very high trust the government society because we are a socialist democrat state. So we have a totally different approach to the state than Americans have because you're all brought up to mistrust the state. But when I see this, and I won't mention what happened a couple of years ago, and we can't do that on YouTube, but how fast people said, just let us throw all of our rights out the window.
Yeah, COVID.
They must know better because they hold a high office. And you see police, especially in this case, there's so clearly shenanigans going on with all of these police officers. And I don't know if it was you who talked about it, but I believe maybe it was during the first hearing someone talked about there was some kind of beef going on between O'Keefe and the Alberts or something like that. which might have led to a beat up in the basement, and that's a better explanation than the 62 feet.
Yeah, the only person who had any sort of issue with John O'Keefe in that house was Colin Albert, because Colin Albert was his former neighbor, and he used to cut across his lawn, throw beer cans on his lawn, and go at it with O'Keefe. From what I've been told about John O'Keefe was not a pushover, right? If some punk threw shit on his lawn, John O'Keefe was going to come outside and say something to him, and the two of them had a back and forth. And it was just like a lack of respect. John O'Keefe's 30 years older than him. Who is this little shit? Who does he think he is, coming and trashing my lawn and disrespecting me and talking like that? And Colin Albert's thinking, I'm a goddamn Albert. Who the fuck are you? This is my town. This is Canton. And I'm a big tough guy. And yeah, I'm not gonna, just because you're the cop from Boston, I'm supposed to respect you. Fuck off. I'm an Albert. My Uncle Brian is higher ranking than you in the Boston Police Department. Who the fuck are you, rookie? You put ankle bracelets on sex offenders. And so it is plausible. We don't know for sure what happened. It's not our job to find out. It's the state police's job. But they're obviously not going to do that. So all we can do is theorize and opine. And I think the most logical explanation is that John O'Keefe walked into that house drunk as shit after a night of drinking, and Colin Albert was in there probably drinking. The two of them see each other, and he's like, "Oh, fuck, Colin, this little shithead's here." And words exchange. Who knows who threw the first punch? But the bottom line is, Brian Albert is not going to let his nephew Colin get beat up inside his house. He's going to take Colin's side. And when Brian Albert gets involved, then the dog is going to get involved, because the dog is loyal to the owner. And that is the most plausible explanation. Something went terribly wrong along the way. I think the gash in the head shows that whatever that was, whoever did that with whatever, I'm sure they did not intend to kill him. I'm sure their temper took hold of them, and there was no taking it back once it happened. And then they turned into, oh, fuck mode. Like, what do we do now? And because Brian Albert's a homicide cop, he knows nobody knows what better to do in a situation like that than a guy that's been around a lot of murders before and
investigated a lot of them.
Like, he's the guy that would know exactly what to do in that situation.
MLS is asking, is the Attorney General or FBI looking into the Canton police? Not that it will really help, just wondering. Thank you for the super chat.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. It totally would. I mean, they should. I mean, this is what they exist to do. But we've contacted, emailed, it's a state with 7 million people. And I'm sure people contact the Attorney General all the time. And I'm sure the Attorney General probably would rather just let everybody's solution is just let it play out in court. But the problem is we don't trust the courts anymore.
No. And thank you, Wendy, for the $2 super chat. And Bang Bang White Bread says, residents in Canton signed a petition to convene a special town meeting where we are voting on a no confidence for CPD and our own town governor, also outside audit of the CPD. Yeah, that's
and like the Attorney General is not involved, but the FBI is. That is a fact, not maybe they're involved. We know as a fact the FBI is involved, and that they are specifically investigating public corruption. The FBI has been involved, to my knowledge, since last December. And I think they initially started looking into this as a cop killing another cop, but it's taken a complete left turn. And I believe now they're looking into public corruption in the DA's office, because they are the ones allowing this. They are the ones who are intentionally going forward with what is quite clearly a frame job and not going after the people who actually did this. They are clearly complicit in this. So the FBI doesn't waste their time doing 10-month-long investigations if there isn't something coming out of this. So we know it's going to come, but it's just, we don't know when. And that's the frustrating part about this.
That's one thing that we know in our crowd of YouTube, right? Like it's a pretty well-known fact that feds, if they're bringing charges, they've got like a 98% conviction rate or something absolutely insane. So the chances of feds bringing charges and not getting a conviction out of it are almost non-existent.
Which would explain why it's taking so long, because
they're locking it in.
They get it. They're not going to put out an indictment until they got you. until they got you, and they force you into a plea deal because they got you. You know, what are you going to do about it? Hardly anyone takes it to trial in federal court because it's a losing battle.
Yeah, and as Dave says, the problem with letting it play out in court is that it costs time, money, and sanity to do so. And the state don't care. They have all the money because they just raise your taxes so you can pay for your own trial against you. But Karen is running out of money. Her family has pitched in all they can, and she's sitting with a case so obviously flawed. And that's why I really like to talk to you and help raise awareness about this, because the state don't care. They're just gonna go to Aiden and say, "Hey, Aiden, next year you're just gonna pay a little more in taxes because we have a case we want to do." She can't go anywhere and get the money she needs for a good defense. Her defense team seems really competent, but it's an expensive job to run a case like this. And we covered another case from Massachusetts with a lady. She was being tried for the fourth time. Two times the state got a hung jury. The third time they got her convicted, and now the fourth time they got her convicted in a lesser.
That the woman, that the lesbian woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We thought that, and that case was it was so clear that the jury had been arguing for 4 days, and now they just wanted to reach something, and someone had said, "Well, let's give her involuntary manslaughter, and then she'll be out with time served." And she got 12 to 15, I believe. Mm-hmm. And she has had an amazing lawyer, Rosemary.
Is she innocent?
Rosemary Capiccio was amazing.
Are you talking about her or him? That sounds a lot like the Sean Ellis story.
Ooh.
No, this is Cara Rintala. She just got her sentencing 2 weeks ago.
She had Rosemary too?
Yeah.
I spoke with Rosemary to be my attorney. It just
really?
She's got she got
Jamie
too many
loves her.
Oh, she's great. When I saw her on trial 4, I'm like, she'd be great. But it's like, it's not like it's hard finding a good lawyer in this, like anywhere there. You realize how many mediocre people become attorneys. Like, I was under the impression that attorneys were usually charismatic and had some personality in court, but there are just a lot of lawyers that get up there and are just so bad at their job. Mostly prosecutors, but it's like you realize that they're hard to come by. Like Alan Jacksons of the world and the Rosemary Scarpiccios are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, and she seems super competent, and she did it pro bono as far as I figured out, and still the jury, and that's the problem. Again, I'm a juror in Denmark, and we have a way different system. We are assigned to do jury duties for 4 years at a time, and we ask to be put on the list. It's not like in the US where everyone tries to get out of it. The only people doing jury duty is still the people too stupid to get out of jury duty. That's and this jury, I watched the 35 hours of deliberation. I sat here, watched a ceiling tile while I talked. And I was so clear that lady, they never proved anything. It was like this case. Everything, it looked kind of like it might have something to do with the case. Well, it's clear that she did it then. And still, the juries in that room got bored of sitting in the room and just said, well, let's just give her a small sentence. She'll probably walk free. And that's why I like doing this crime stuff, because people need to educate yourself on the on what's happening in the American justice system. And you're a great proponent of showing people that you can get railroaded. Yeah, and I have to go and blow my nose, but could you talk about all those Ring video and the library cam that all of a sudden didn't exist, and when it was turned over, it disappeared, or there was something like that?
So after Karen Reed hit allegedly John O'Keefe with her car, she would have a broken taillight, and so she has a 3-mile ride home from there, and she's going to go by hundreds of homes and institutions, many of which have cameras on them. So that if you just pull one of those cameras, you look at it. If she has a broken taillight, then she hit him. If she doesn't have a broken taillight, then she didn't hit him. The case is over at that point. I actually knocked on several doors along the way of houses that had Ring cameras. And I spoke to a couple guys. And I asked them, did the state police ever come to your house and ask you for your Ring camera? No, they never went to any homes. And so I went and now the Canton Library, she would have gone directly past the Canton Library on her way home. And the Canton Library has a video camera that gets a perfect view would have gotten a perfect view of her taillight. So they obviously asked for that. The state police asked for that. And the IT director gives them full file access to it. Here you go. Here's, tape from the entire night. And when the state police then put that on a CD and they hand it over to the district attorney's office, who then hands it over to the defense. Except there's one problem when they do that. There's 2 minutes missing from 12:37 to 12:39, the exact time when Karen Reed would have driven by there. So it's just like, so it worked the entire time.
How does that happen?
How does
how it happens?
But what rationale could they possibly give for that to be like a valid,
just
thing?
Perfect timing?
Yeah, they just say, I don't know. I guess it was broken.
Act of God. I don't think.
It's so absurd. Your response to that is so absurd, and they know that's your response to it. But at the same time, they're just like,
anymore.
What are you going to do? We have all the guns. Like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. We're just going to be openly corrupt. We don't give a shit how it looks. They're way past appearances. They're way past giving a shit about public opinion or anything like that. I mean, there's got gigantic protests on the courthouse stairs. They don't care. They're pushing forward anyway because they just realize, well, it doesn't really matter what people think because we're in charge. So what you think doesn't really matter.
Ugh, it's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and more importantly, do the cameras show that her tail light broken on the way there?
Did they hear what I just said?
Yeah,
I just gave a whole speech on that.
Yeah, but again, it's funny how cameras never work. Again,
on the way to Fairview Road.
Yeah.
No, it's nobody's. Well, why would the tail light wouldn't be broken on the way to Fairview Road?
Yeah.
You hadn't hit him yet.
No, but if it was broken on the way there, you could say, well, that's because she could have bumped it.
We've seen what caused Karen's taillight to break. She backed into John's car at 5 o'clock in the morning when she went out looking for him. It's on Ring camera video. She backs into his car. It's undeniable. She pulls out. There's clearly part of the taillight missing, not the entire thing, but part of it's missing. So she probably broke her taillight, doing that. Now the taillight's all gone though. Like the taillight's completely gone. And that's what's going to get them. Or so I've heard. That's what's going to get them, that they have handed in basically the entire taillight as evidence, like literally putting a puzzle together. And suppose something like that, suppose the Commonwealth is putting that into evidence. Well, if any part of that taillight that is in that 5 o'clock video, when she goes out looking for John O'Keefe, if any part of that taillight that is illuminated in there is entered into evidence as taillight found at 34 Fairview Road, that will prove that it was planted there. So if they were dumb enough to do that, that is going to come back to bite them, and they just might be. But I don't know anything about that because it's not in the official court, official documents that is publicly viewable yet.
Because they would have had to already log that into evidence at the time before the video came out showing that she backed into the car at the house. What
do you mean?
Well, if it, like you're saying, if it's logged in as evidence coming from the house behind you, then we have video now showing that couldn't be, right? You have video, or there's video where
here's what I'm saying. So when she pulls out of the house
at her
5
house.
o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
well after she hit John,
Right.
There is a small piece of taillight that's definitely clearly missing, right? But not the entire thing. However, suppose the Commonwealth puts into evidence taillight that they found at the scene, and it's the entire taillight, right? Not just that one piece. That would prove that taillight was planted at the scene. Which I don't know anything about.
As Snatch says, the victims clothes on the hospital floor and not put into evidence for weeks. Yeah, and with sprinkles of tail lights on the clothes as well. And but it was totally there from the beginning. And and Wolfram, thank you for the $5. And Wendy want to see Valhalla ride a goat as well. So please go subscribe to Valhalla so we can have a goat show. Have a turtle and a goat.
I'm a little big for the goat riding. You know what? There was actually a clip of Mrs. Valhalla riding my big buck at one point. I don't know what happened to that video though.
Yeah, and 35 pieces of the tail light they found, and again,
35.
yeah, and as far as I understood the evidence, it's not on the same level in the snow. When they found it after the body was removed.
Right. So they when the Canton, that's a big aspect of this.
Yeah.
When the Canton police got there at 6 a.m, they find his body, whatever, they do a search of the scene. They find a broken cocktail glass and some droplets of blood. He's only got one shoe on. So logically, if you come across this guy, you'd be like, well, let's check inside the house. Like, did he go? But they don't do that. It's protocol to do that. They searched my house. I mean, my house got searched because I do a YouTube show. But if only I'd thrown a dead body on the front lawn, and that would act as freaking kryptonite for the police. They don't come in your house when that happens. Just throw a dead cop on your lawn, and you're safe from illegal search and seizure. But it's funny, we laugh about this, but it's happening in real life. This is what's actually happening. And so they get there, they don't find any taillight, nothing, or a shoe. And then it snows over a foot. 12 hours later, the state police do a search, different police agency. After a foot of snow has fallen, what do they find? 4 pieces of red taillight and a size 12 shoe, all of which the Canton police somehow missed when there was only an inch or two of snow on the ground. So the Canton police are either the most incompetent, blind police force in the history of mankind, or someone planted that stuff since then. And we know that the scene was not, there was no crime tape put up. It was left unattended all day. Like, you would think somebody would want to keep an eye on that. It was left completely unattended by the state police. Michael Proctor, the district attorney's office, claims that Michael Proctor didn't go to the house the entire day, which is, he's the lead investigator and he didn't go to the crime scene. That's what they claim. So we know that and this is what I was going to mention before, earlier on, with the daylight savings scam. So they claim, Michael Proctor claims, that that the state police team searched and found that taillight at 5:45. He claims that he was in Dighton, which is 40 minutes away from Canton, at Karen Reed's house at 5:30, towing her car out of there. Except there's just one problem. There's alarm.com footage from Karen Reed's parents' house showing the car being towed not at 5:30 p.m., but at 4:12 p.m., which is more than enough time to get it back to Canton and sprinkle some taillight fragments at the scene of the crime. So we lied about that. And so how does the DA's office explain this alarm.com video showing the car being towed at 4:12 p.m.? Simple. Daylight savings. This is what they said in open court, that, it's just daylight savings. It is actually 5:12 p.m., even though it would actually be 3:12 p.m., not 5:12, but I digress. So it was, and it also, the sun set that day at 4:56 p.m. and it's 4:12 p.m. and there's still light out. So it couldn't possibly be that. But now, here's the best part. Now, in the last month, they have now changed their story. They're saying that was a scrivener's error, that was a mistake, that actually they towed the car at 4:30, not 5:30. That was just a simple mistake, even though they doubled down on the daylight savings thing and they came up with a way to lie their way out of that. They're like, just forget we ever said that. Just like we forget we ever said the 3-point turn. Just ignore that. It is the most transparently, you have to be so stupid to actually believe this. And that's why nobody actually does. Literally, the people that are claiming they believe this are just trolling us. It's a troll job. Nobody actually believes any of this.
I do. Go ahead, Baker.
Yeah, and no, that's and again, I went into this and I knew you were covering it. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's a bad guy," and I said, "Well, I don't know anything about you. I saw you in court at the hearings," and I said, "Well." There was all these claims about you harassing people, and I said, "Well, of course, I don't condone any of that, but the evidence you have brought forth is so egregious to their trial. And you have this old saying, when you hit the most flag, you're closest to the target. And they're just amping up the attack. Again, there was a person going into my stream saying, please don't give him a platform today. And I've watched tons of your videos trying to prepare for this, because I kind of like to sound like I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I don't. But I just wanted to seem kind of intelligent. And what you're a fun guy. You're an internet guy. And we turn it up a bit on the internet. And there's no harassment. The picture where you yelled at people at a football game or whatever it was, where people had sent you a shot from someone else taking a selfie.
Yeah.
It was, how the hell is
I wasn't
Aiden?
even there. I wasn't even there. Somebody else took that picture.
And that's why I say you know too much to people want you around. And that's, to me, just makes it even more sus. Did anyone question the tow driver if there was any reported damage on the car?
The tow driver says there wasn't.
Oh,
he said like I mean, there's pictures of the car being towed. A significant part of her taillight is still intact in that video. Like, it's barely broken. It's cracked, but it's barely broken.
And again, Lucky, KK.
And one more thing about that. That's the only reason the state changed their story about what time the car was towed, is because the Dighton police, the town police in Dighton, came forward with their report that we did in a public records request, showing that the scene was cleared by 4:15, that the car was completely towed by 4:15, and that Michael Proctor had called for the car to be towed at 2:30. Before he even arrived, he was asking for the car to be towed, despite not even seeing any sort of broken tail. He had no idea that this car was used to kill someone when he did that. But he had already made it. The plan was already in place at that point. The conspiracy was already designed at that point. He was doing his job to make sure that happened.
And Aiden has done a phenomenal job of covering this, and you do it with humor, which is really good to make people listen. And that's why I think a lot of people are attacking you, because I can see it. There's a lot of people jumping into watching this stream tonight because they want to know about it. And you did what they didn't do. You talked to the guy who ran the snowplow on the street, and why didn't they talk to him?
You know why they didn't talk to him? I mean, because he was going to tell them something they didn't want to hear. And as a matter of fact, so what got me interested in that is I got a police report from Michael Proctor in which because I was always wondering about the plow driver. Wouldn't a plow driver have seen his body if he went by there? And so I was wondering about that. And I read a police report in which Michael Proctor claimed that the town of Canton does not plow Fairview Road, that they hire an outside contractor called By the Yard to do that. And that just didn't seem right. So I looked into it more, and I found out that actually the town of Canton does plow Fairview Road. And a man by the name of Brian Lucky Loughran is the one who tows that road. So I tracked it. I did this crazy thing called journalism, where you just ask a question, you track the guy down, you get his phone number, and you ask a question. Maybe he won't talk to you, but maybe he will. Give it a shot. You never know till you try. So I talked to him. He chatted like a schoolgirl. He's happy to talk about this. And I'm like, I asked him, did you plow Fairview Road that night? Yep. What time did you go by? 2:30. Really? Well, yeah, because the FBI, he told me, confronted him with GPS data showing him on that street, and he told them the same. I'm like, you talked to the FBI about this? Did you talk to anyone else? Yeah, I talked to Karen Reed's private investigator. You've told two people this, and this is not public record yet? Holy shit. I go, was there a body on the front lawn when you went by? No. So if there's no body at 2:30, then Karen Reed couldn't have killed him at 12:30, because his corpse didn't get up, move, and then come back at 6 o'clock. That did not happen. So I go, are you sure about that? Is there any way that you could not have maybe gone by and just missed it because you're busy focusing on the road? He goes, no. I looked to both sides, and on that, there's a fire hydrant right there. Got to be careful around fire hydrants. I'm up high. The lights are on. I go slow. There is no possible way I could not have seen a body. I said, did you see anything else? Did you go by again? Yes, I came by at 3. Half an hour later. What'd you see then? Well, there was a Ford Edge parked there, so I couldn't go down. Where was the Ford Edge parked? Right where John's body was discovered 3 hours later. And so when I published this story, it's a bombshell. And Michael Proctor reads it and he sees the words FBI, the acronym FBI, and now he's shitting his pants because the FBI is looking. How the fuck did the FBI know about this? Michael Proctor knew that Lucky Loughran plowed that street and chose not to interview him because he knew that Lucky was not going to go along with the conspiracy. So he couldn't count on him. So just don't talk to him. You just won't talk to him. We'll pretend like it never happened. And now it's too late. Now I've put this out there. And now that he's found out that he spoke with the FBI, he goes down on August 10th and interviews Lucky Loughran. Lucky Loughran tells him the same exact story that he told me, that about the nobody at 2:30 and the Ford Edge at 3. Now, if you're a cop and you're looking for the murderer of John O'Keefe and you find out that a Ford Edge was parked right where a dead cop's body was found 3 hours later, that's a fellow cop that's dead. That's an all points bulletin to find the driver of that Ford Edge.
Well, that's another point. That's another point that I'm going to interrupt you for real quick.
Go ahead.
This is another cop, y'all. When was the last time you seen a cop get ended and not have everybody within 100 miles, every police officer within 100 miles busting their ass to try to figure out what happened there? Exactly.
It's treated as a different kind of murder. It's like, it's just a fact. They treat it differently. And they find this out. That should be like, they could have found whoever was driving that Ford Edge in 24 hours. They figure that out. There's only so many Ford Edge drivers, and most of them are Alberts. 4 Alberts own a Ford Edge. 4 different Alberts own a Ford Edge.
Get a better car, y'all. Dang.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It's like, seriously. I mean, get a Lexus. You can go 24 miles an hour and reverse in the snow in one of those.
Apparently.
But you would think that would be an all points bulletin. It's been 83 days since then. They have not done a goddamn thing to find out who was driving that Ford Edge, because they've been too busy building a case against me. I'm more of a priority than them. And it's just, they don't care. Again, they don't care how it looks. They just don't care how it looks. They know how it looks. They just don't give a shit because they're in charge. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
And talking about how it looks, the first hearing with all the cops standing in the room, what was that about? That looks so intimidating.
That's why they do it.
Which hearing?
No, second hearing. There was one of the hearings where there was a lot of officers in uniform standing.
Oh yeah, well, not in uniform. The guys with the shaved heads.
No, I think that I believe we talked about them being cops, but I could be mistaken. But there was a lot of people, and I think it was the first hearing. There was the courtroom was filled up.
And where it was the one where everybody was laughing. All that.
I don't know. It was just
we noticed that they were like really standing in between you guys, like in between the people over on Karen's side.
Oh, those aren't cops. Those are court officers.
Oh, okay. Because I thought
they're crowd control.
Yeah.
They don't have guns or anything. They're just.
Thank you so much, Wendy.
They put people in cuffs when they're convicted and bring them down. That's all they do. They're not cops or anything like that. But yeah,
it just looked so like they wanted to intimidate people.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just didn't want me to be on camera because that one guy stood in front of me the whole time, so I couldn't make funny faces. But I'd also point out that like the deputy police chief lives across the street from this house on Fairview Road. He's got a Ring camera that points directly at where Karen Reed would have struck John O'Keefe, and Michael Proctor never pulled the tape, never asked to look at it, nothing. And of course, if you have, that would be one of the first roads that they plow, right? You got 2 cops living on this street, including the deputy police chief. They're going to plow that road first.
So no, but they had this annoying journalist / comedian they had to look into.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to put the murder aside
on YouTube that they don't like, and I made Colin Albert sad. So we got to drop everything we're doing.
How many cameras have been either neglected or mysteriously malfunctioned at the time?
All of them.
Well, that's like literally how many are we talking at this point?
Well, if you were to drive from Karen Reed's midnight ride from 34 Fairview Road to John O'Keefe's house, you would pass probably at least 300 houses at least, and institutions, probably at least a third of which have a Ring camera on them. So at least probably, I would guess 100 cameras at least would have caught them. Not one was pulled. Not one. And we know from policing in Norfolk County, there was a murder a couple months later. One of the first things they did was ask all neighbors to look at Ring cameras looking for a certain kind of car. It's like the most basic element of police investigation now. They followed no protocols with this, none whatsoever, because they have no intention of convicting Karen Read. They don't want to convict Karen Read. They'd probably sleep a lot easier at night if she was acquitted, right? All this is a dog and pony show to prevent them from having to prosecute the Alberts and the McCabe's. Karen Read, they're just going to drain her of her resources and her time. They know she's not going to jail. They're going to try to turn her into Casey Anthony or OJ Simpson or one of these other people and say, well, she's a murderer and she got away with it. That's what they want her to be. They just don't want her. They just don't want to have to go after the people that actually did this.
And can I say, Dr. Disinfect, I like that people who might have a different opinion than the panel likes to talk about it in chat. I welcome everyone who likes to talk about it because we can all learn. And that's why I like to talk to Aiden, because I had heard rumors about you, how bad you were, and all of that stuff.
The troll army.
The
troll army that's out to get you is impressive, sir.
I know.
I've never seen somebody be followed by so many haters
dedicated
in my entire YouTube career. It's impressive.
And what's impressive about them is they don't make any progress whatsoever. Like, and they've been doing this to me for years, trying to stop my growth, saying the blood, it's all going to shut down soon. And all I do is, grow larger and larger in audience. And if I were them after a while, I would just quit. I'd be like, this is a waste of my time. It's not going anywhere. It's not helping. He's only getting bigger, but they just keep going, and God bless them for it. I hope they never stop. I like having an army of trolls that exists to try to stop me, because it motivates me to keep going. So
yeah, and hate views are views as well. And thank you, Wendy, for gifting 10 memberships at Valhalla.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, no, but 8 views are views too.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Do you mind if in like 5 minutes, I got to call my lawyer in like 5 minutes? Just to, if we wrap it up in like 5 minutes, I hate to rush out of here.
No, it's fine. We've been going for over an hour, and we could probably go for 10 hours more, but it's probably important to talk to your lawyer.
I think so.
Yeah, I would if I were you.
Yeah. But before you go, is there any way people could contribute to her defense? Is there any GoFundMe or anything?
Oh yeah,
for Karen?
There's I think it's a Pay It is the website. It is pinned on, I think it's on my channel, Turtleboy Live. You can see it in our bio on any video that we do. But if you just Google Karen Read, is it freekarenread.com? Let me see what happens. freekarenread.com. What comes up? No, my website comes up. Okay. I guess I forget. Maybe somebody in the comments can help me out. It's just search Karen Read Legal Defense Fund. I'm sure it'll come up.
Because
you can donate that way. Oh, .net.
Like
freekarenread.net.
There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I'll take you right to the website. She's raised thus far 200 and something, I believe. But that might seem like a lot, but that goes real quick when you're constantly having to pay for experts that the state normally pays for, forensic experts. They're doing the job they're solving this murder. They're not just defending their client. They're solving the murder in order to save their client. And that's expensive. So every little bit helps.
This entire case and process it just stinks. It seems very corrupt to the core, and hopefully we will get to see this all pan out and justice be served. Rick Nikita, what's up, brother? Good to see you. You're amazing. Pink boy.
And everyone support Turtleboy. He's doing...
That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I subbed a while ago, but nonetheless.
I took one for the team.
As much as she is.
I took a charge for this. Like a bunch of them.
8 of them at least.
I'm really into this. I don't give a shit. I'd do it again in a second. It was worth it. Because what's right is right. It's like I'm not gonna furthered my resolve to keep pushing forward because I know that we're onto something here. You know, a lot of people have said that, like, I was on the fence with the Karen Reed thing before because they hadn't looked into it that much. And after I saw what they did to you, I know that I now am a full believer in it. Like, they proved the point by charging me.
Yeah, and Dr. Disinfect, just hard to believe they can cover up something like this. Makes more sense she murdered him, but I'm willing to see the evidence in court. I don't follow the turtle guy. Well, I can only recommend following the turtle guy, because even if you don't believe the evidence he put forward, you can always say,
He's right, though. Let me just say to Dr. Disinfect, it's just hard to believe they can cover something up like this. It makes more sense that she murdered him. Exactly. That's what they want. Like, that's what they're banking on. They're banking on you saying that it's just this is crazy. It's a much easier thing to accept that she did this. That is exactly the attitude that they're banking on. So I would implore you to actually look into it. Don't do what the government wants you to do, which is just assume that they're telling the truth. Assume that no conspiracy happened. Use your brain, use your eyes, research. The information is out there, and you will see why this movement has gone so big. We're not crazy people. We're not stupid. And I have never been a big conspiracy guy, but this is just too obvious. I can't ignore this.
I remember when this case was first making headlines, and it was off right away. Like, it didn't add up. And then people started looking into it a little bit more, and the timings didn't match up. And this case it's been full of crazy since it happened. And it just keeps getting crazier.
No, and Aiden, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We touched a little bit of the stuff I really wanted to get into, but there's so much more.
Yeah.
And maybe somewhere down the road
we could do it again sometime in a few weeks or something. Whatever,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, well,
always happy to
and
jump on
I will be covering this case on my channel with the hearings and stuff, and I might go and read the affidavit, because there was a lot of especially this McCabe lady. She didn't see nothing.
Times don't
She
add
didn't
up.
see.
She's a real peach.
But thank you so very much for spending some time with us tonight. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate all of you people showing up, all the nice people who gave super chats and memberships.
Heck yeah.
And we'll
Y'all
be
are
back.
amazing.
And go show some love to Turtleboy or Valhalla Awaits.
Yeah. Wait, when do you do? Because I know I watch a lot of them. Your lives.
We go Tuesdays and
Saturdays.
Tuesdays and Saturdays at 9 Eastern time.
So you guys should watch him. He has some great lives.
Well, thank you.
And it's
I love it.
It's very educational if you go and watch the shorts about the backing of the car. Someone can't drive as well as Karen Reed. It's a spoiler.
Oh, and I'd also recommend subbing to a channel called Microdots. It's a turtle rider has created who is extremely talented. Just watch the Microdots videos on this, and your mind will be blown. So shout out to Microdots.
Okay, Microdots.
Yeah.
Shout out Microdots.
Yep. So, thank you guys
so much.
Me.
Always, brother. Always.
Always.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
And amazing content this guy has, and it's really the more you look into it, the crazier it gets. To me, it's just weird that how much you can do in a case like this and still have people believe, well, there's nothing shading going on. Thank you for finding us, Lisa.
Thank you.
Let's go look now at what, Rosman? At Microdot. Well, I just I got the wrong ones up, but wrong Microdot channel. It's the one called Microdots.
Yeah, I mean, we're really big on, we want to see the actual evidence that is presented in court. And just us watching a couple of those hearings, it was mind-blowing that the state they don't even have anything. And it's ridiculous, the stuff that they're doing. When we found out that they were still hadn't tested any of the evidence, and it's been over a year. That was
crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this case I really wanted to get into, and you, even though we went over an hour, we just
it
touched.
went so fast. It went so
Yeah.
fast, and there was so much to talk about.
Yeah, and and he has a book as well on Amazon, and there's so much more to jump into, and thank you all for showing up and helping us having an amazing stream. We hope to see some of you back, even though we might not cover Karen Reed the other days. Me and Jamie do a lot of trial watching, so if you are into that stuff, come back and watch us do that. Valhalla does a lot of other stuff.
I do a little bit of everything. I do.
Yeah.
I think me and David MLS are going to be streaming something to do with. Oh, help me out. The Anderson girl, Caitlin Anderson. We're going to be streaming something about that in the next 24 hours or so, I think.
Wrong.
Yeah.
What? Armstrong. There you go. Thank you. Caitlin Armstrong. That's the name.
Thank you so much, Melanie Parker. And sorry for the accent. It's because I'm not Swedish. Thank you so much, Miss Ash. And with that, it's 3:22 a.m. So I should probably find a bed. But thank you all so much for showing up tonight. It's amazing to see the interest in this Karen Reed case, and I really hope she will see justice, not only for her, but also for him, because if she's wrongfully convicted, the real killer is still out there, and that would be a shame. But thank you all so much for watching, and have a great night.
Chat, y'all are amazing.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.